Hi everyone, my name's Alex Haver. Before diving into what artificial intelligence is and its role in business analytics, I want to start by explaining who I am, my background, and the lens through which I currently understand and experience AI, because that perspective has strongly shaped how I see its role in business and healthcare. I'm currently completing my DO MBA dual degree and in my fourth year of med school at LMU DCOM. I'm also in the process of applying to residency, which is exciting and honestly does not feel real. My long-term goal is to practice primary care medicine with a focus on behavioral health and addiction, while also applying the systems-based and operational thinking from my MBA within healthcare and my own outpatient practice someday. Because of that, my interest in AI is very practical. I'm especially interested in how AI can improve clinical workflow, reduce burnout, and ultimately improve patient outcomes. Before starting medical school and my MBA, my exposure to AI was fairly limited. I had taken one computer science course in undergrad at Michigan State University that focused on cognition, binary code, and theoretical models of intelligence. At that time, AI felt abstract and almost futuristic, and definitely not something that I expected to meaningfully interact with during my career. Fast forward just a few years, and AI is growing faster than anything we've seen before. Because I was very young when the internet became mainstream, I've talked to my parents about what that transition felt like. They describe a lot of hesitancy, people questioning whether the internet would actually be useful, whether it was trustworthy, or whether it would ever be worth integrating into daily life. I see that same hesitancy today when people talk about AI, but knowing what we know now about how transformative the internet became, history shows us that resisting transformative technology can limit innovation, growth, and competitiveness, particularly for small businesses and even large systems like healthcare. According to Felton and Hardig from the St. Louis Federal Reserve, data shows that AI reached widespread adoption in just a few years, far faster than earlier transformational technologies such as the internet and personal computers at comparative times. This highlights how rapidly AI is becoming embedded in everyday work and life. My understanding and application of AI changed most significantly through my clinical experiences. After completing my first family medicine rotation, I did not think that I saw it being my future career path. 6 months later, I did my second rotation in family medicine. In just that small amount of time, I began seeing pilot implementations of AI tools like Suki, DAX, and Abridge into the EHR systems, and my view of my future career shifted significantly. I'm currently pursuing family medicine with a focus on behavioral health, and in this field, documentation, placing orders, and following up on labs can take up half of a physician's day. That administrative burden often forces physicians to rush patient encounters, which contributes to burnout and negatively affects patient care. The impact of these programs rolling out was immediate and striking. Physicians were able to maintain eye contact with patients, spend more time listening, and leave work without hours of charting left to do, which improved quality of life. At the same time, documentation quality improved and patient satisfaction increased. Seeing those changes firsthand, especially in such a short amount of time, made me genuinely excited about the future of healthcare in the coming years and what AI could mean for both providers and patients alike. And research also supports these observations. Just one example is a 2024 narrative review by Chustecki that found that AI in healthcare can improve diagnostic accuracy and clinical decision-making while also highlighting risks such as data bias and patient privacy concerns. This reinforces the idea that AI must be implemented thoughtfully and ethically. As I started applying to residency programs, I began asking each program about their views on AI and whether they had any current or planned implementations into the program. And the way that they answered that question told me a lot, even beyond just the topic of AI. Some programs were clearly forward-thinking, Even if they personally felt cautious, they understood that AI implementation is inevitable and necessary to stay ahead of the curve and up to date on current practices. Other programs appeared more resistant and hesitant, often due to personal biases or fear of change, which I believe can ultimately hinder institutional, personal, and professional growth. This is something that is definitely important to me when choosing a future place to train at. Not that having an AI scribe in residency is a make or break condition, but rather I want to train somewhere that also sees the importance of paying attention to rapidly shifting technology and embodies a forward-thinking, innovative mindset. That being said, I don't think that AI should be used without boundaries. I support limiting resident access to AI scribe tools specifically until after the first year of residency, while still allowing supplemental use of generative AI and medically approved and HIPAA-secure AI chats like Open Evidence or Clinical Key. I think it's essential for interns to first learn how to write notes, place orders, and think through clinical decision-making independently. Once those foundational skills are developed, AI becomes what I believe it should be, an augmentation tool, not a replacement, at least at this point in time. I also view this balance from another perspective through my mom, who has been a middle school English teacher for over 30 years. She often talks about how difficult it is to integrate AI into education, especially for kids who are so young and still developing. On one hand, AI is clearly part of the future, and it could be argued that some skills we once prioritized, like cursive writing for example, may eventually become less essential. On the other hand, that transition hasn't fully happened yet, and core skills like writing, critical thinking, and reasoning are still very much foundational. So AI is treated as an augmentation tool. Students can use it in certain contexts, but they still need to show their work, much like when my algebra and calculus teachers made me show my work for solving a math problem by hand instead of just writing down the answer that the calculator spits out. This emphasizes knowing that AI's output can be wrong and knowing what to even enter in to get a correct answer in the first place. When middle school students turn in essays that appear to be written at a PhD level, it highlights how challenging it will be to strike that balance and why thoughtful implementation matters. This personal experience is what shapes how I currently understand AI, not as something to fear, but as a powerful tool that requires intentional, ethical, and informed use. With that perspective in mind, I'll now transition into a more formal discussion of what artificial intelligence is, how it relates to big data, and why it has become essential to modern business analytics. To understand why AI matters, we need to understand the scale of the problem it addresses. According to TechJury, global data creation is expected to exceed 180 zettabytes by 2025, and now being in the beginning of 2026, I can only assume that this will continue to increase. And with 2.5 quintillion bytes of data created every day, before I even started this project or read this article, I had never even heard of a zettabyte or tried to process how massive 2.5 quintillion bytes of data even was, so that was a little mind-blowing and fascinating. So even more challenging, 80 to 90% of this data is unstructured, and less than 1% is ever analyzed effectively. This gap between data creation and data understanding is where AI becomes essential. So, what exactly is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence refers to systems designed to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence, such as learning from data, recognizing patterns, and making predictions. This aligns with IBM's definition of AI, which emphasizes systems that adapt and improve over time rather than follow fixed rules. In business, big data provides the raw material, AI acts as the processing engine, and business intelligence represents the actionable insight leaders use to make decisions. This framework reflects how Davenport and Renanke describe AI's role in real-world business applications, supporting, not replacing, human judgment. From a leadership standpoint, AI adoption is accelerating. According to McKinsey's 2023 State of AI report, organizations that integrate AI into decision-making gain competitive advantages, while those that delay risk falling behind. In closing, while there is still so much we don't know about AI and many avenues for AI to be misused, its integration into business and everyday life isn't something to fear. It's a necessary response to the scale and complexity of modern data. Without AI, big data loses much of its value because humans alone can't extract insights at scale. When implemented thoughtfully, AI enhances professional judgment, supports ethical decision-making, and allows organizations to respond more effectively to the story that their data is telling. Here are my cited references, and thanks for listening to my presentation on what is artificial intelligence.